Hi everyone, I'm Teacher Cheryl and welcome to my channel. In today's video, we are going into a mini vocabulary lesson and we're going to continue using the 3 MEW steps that we talked about in the previous video. I'll leave a link in the description box for you if you haven't watched that video yet. Like I mentioned before, people always say read more, and it's as if like when we actually pick up a book, we will magically start learning new vocabulary. But that doesn't really work if we are reading mindlessly. So how does reading actually help us to learn new vocabulary? The main thing that I always say is we have to be very, very intentional. So whenever we are reading, we have to pick out words or phrases that we are not sure of and find out more about these words. And it's also not just understanding the meaning of these words, but knowing how to apply them to our writing as well. And that will actually help us overall in, of course, our reading comprehension and in our composition writing as well. So before we get started with today's lesson, please download the accompanying worksheets as you can see on my screen so that you'll be able to follow along today's lesson as well as take any notes that you may need. So let's first recap the 3 steps that we'll be using today. Step 1 is where we understand the meaning of the word or the phrase. And in step 2, we have to analyze an example. And in step 3, we have to write a sentence. If you'd like a more detailed explanation of these 3 steps, please watch my previous video and I'll leave a link in the description box for you. So for today's lesson, we are going to be looking at an article from Channel News Asia, and the title is Post PSLE, What if a 12-year-old wants an Instagram or TikTok account? I'm not sure if you are aware of this, but there is usually an age limit if you want to register for a social media account. So what do you think? Do you think a 12-year-old should be allowed to have an Instagram or a social media account? Share your thoughts with me in the comments box below. I'd love to hear about what you think about this. So I've picked out a section of the article and I'll read it out for you here. When it comes to social media, parents of teens may find themselves lodged between a rock and a hard place. Unlock the floodgates and you might find it hard to regain control once it's been given. Hold onto the keys tightly and your teen might grumble at you daily until you eventually cave. Or worse, set up secret accounts elsewhere. A friend and I have been discussing when to allow our 12-year-old daughters access to social media. Since the PSLE ended, our girls have been asking for the green light to their own Instagram accounts. Okay, what I'd like you to do now is to pause this video and to read through the article again, but this time, as you're reading it, I'd like you to pick out words or phrases that you find interesting or that you may not understand the meaning of. So let's continue with the lesson. I don't know if you've noticed, but we can find the number of idioms in this section of the article. I'm going to go through what an idiom is first. So according to the Macmillan Online Dictionary, an idiom is an expression whose meaning is different from the meaning of the individual words. So if you look at the example given, to have your feet on the ground is an idiom meaning to be sensible. So you notice how to have your feet on the ground, literally it means that your foot is on the ground. However, the meaning of this phrase is actually quite different and it means to be sensible. So that is what an idiom is. Okay, so now let's get back into the article and I'm going to show you a phrase that I have picked out. So step 1 is where we have to understand the meaning of the word or the phrase that we have picked out. So let me show you the phrase that I have picked out from paragraph 1 and it is between a rock and a hard place. I checked the Cambridge Online Dictionary and this is what it says. Be caught between a rock and a hard place means to be in a very difficult situation and to have to make a very hard decision. I think we can kind of guess the meaning, right? Because a rock is really hard and a hard place is also very hard and you're kind of stuck in between and you have nowhere to go. Now notice that the dictionary definition also included be caught. So how we can use this phrase is probably to use a verb before the phrase itself. So something like caught between a rock and a hard place. Let's go on to step 2. In step 2, we have to analyze an example. So going back to the sentence itself, notice that the word that comes before the phrase is the word lodged, and lodged is a verb. So lodged kind of means like to be stuck, right? So here, lodged between a rock and a hard place is where this person or these parents of these teens are actually stuck between a rock and a hard place. I've also found an example from this website called idiomsforyou.com and it says, you are caught between a rock and a hard place when your two best friends are fighting. And again, notice that a verb comes before the phrase. So it is caught between a rock and a hard place. So notice how I can use the word lodged or caught or probably any similar verb to this. So how do we use this phrase? We need to first use a suitable verb such as lodged, caught, probably stuck as well. And then we have the phrase between a rock and a hard place. quite simple and straightforward. So let's go to step 3. So step 3 is where we have to write our sentence. So again, this is the sentence in the article, and we know that we need to use a verb plus the phrase itself. I'd like you to pause the video once again and write your own sentence using this phrase between a rock and a hard place. As always, share your sentence with me because I'd really love to read what you came up with. Okay, have you done that? So it's my turn. Let me now show you my sentence. I was caught between a rock and a hard place when my teacher asked me to choose between partnering with a classmate I didn't get along with and another classmate whom I did not know at all. So I have decided to use the verb caught, but I can also replace the word caught with stuck. So I can say I was stuck between a rock and a hard place when my teacher asked me to choose between two different classmates. So that's the phrase that I have chosen, and we've applied the 3 MEW steps to help us really fully understand what the phrase means and also how to use it in a particular sentence. Okay, so a quick recap. Step 1 is where we understand the meaning. Step 2, where we analyze an example. And step 3, we write a sentence. What's next? I'd like you to spot another 2 more idioms in paragraphs 2 and 3. Now, I have a hint for you. There is 1 idiom in each paragraph. And then I'd like you to follow the same process using the MEW steps. And of course, I'd like you to post your answers in the comment box below. Now, if you have downloaded the worksheet, you'll be able to check your answers as well on the very last page of the worksheet. One final thing, do keep a lookout for my next video where we will have another mini vocabulary lesson. As always, if you find this video useful, please give it a like and also subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one. Bye!